behavior is contagious. So the 5 people you spend the most time with, you will become like this.
When I started Taekwondo, after 1 year, I felt like, the man. I wasn't, obviously.
No, I think the result of money was more interesting for me than the money itself. Change works better if there's a lot of pain.
With a big enough why, you can overcome any how. Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher and poet, famously wrote, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." This phrase harbors an important truth about human behavior. If your motivation and desire are great enough, that is, why you are acting, you'll take action, even when it is quite difficult. Great craving can power great action, even when friction is high. Ed, this is the book Atomic Habits from James Clear that talks about easy and proven ways to build good habits and how to break bad ones. This is one of the favorite books I've read this year because I felt like I could implement it directly into my life, and therefore I would like to gift it to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Nice. Thanks.
I'll get right into the intro. Hey guys, how's everyone doing? We're doing well. Hope you're doing well as well. And today we're here with a brand new episode of The Success Show. And today we're joined by Ed van der Waart. Ed is the founder of Your Team, a IT recruitment company. And even more special than that, Ed is someone that I've had many talks with. We've talked about business, but also about life. And I've asked him a lot of philosophical questions, like how to build habits and how to break bad ones, like stated in the book of James Clear, also many other topics. And I hope that people from this show can learn from this podcast, just like I've learned from Ed across the 1.5 year I know him now. And it's an honor to have you on the podcast today. So
Thank you for the invitation. Nice.
It's
Nice
a pleasure.
to be here.
It's a pleasure. Ed, could you please further introduce yourself? I gave a brief explanation of what you do, but
Yes.
there's more to it.
Yes. My name is Ed. I'm 51 years old at the moment. I still feel young, but I'm getting older now every day. Like you said, I'm a business owner. I run a company called Your Team. It's an IT recruitment company. Founded in 2011. So at this moment we established already 12 years almost in March next year. We do well. We are specialized in the more senior positions within the IT company. And we work for the big industries in the financial area, like the big banks and the insurance companies, etc. Besides my company, I do love sports. I like several sports, but we probably come up to that later. And I like to develop myself as well as personal development. It's not a hobby, but I think it's a way of life. And I like to read, and I don't like to watch TV so much. So it's more spending time with family and friends, etc.
Very nice, very nice. We're gonna get into everything. Your team, about sports.
I'm sure.
About taking on information, like reading books. So I'm super excited for that. But first, I would like to start with a little chronological order for the people that don't know you, so they can get to know you better.
Yeah.
Like, where did it all start? Because obviously you started a company, but before that, I think you've worked in many different jobs. How did you know you were going to go into this field? Because it's a pretty niche field, right? Like, IT recruitment is like really special. Like,
Yeah.
like it's very specific. And I would like to know, how did this all start? How did you know that you wanted to do this?
Then we have to go a little step backwards in time, I think. I don't come from a real safe place in my youth. I think my father and my mother were quite occupied with their own personal stuff. So I like to escape the house with working. Working was my hobby when I was young, sports and working. And I all kinds of small jobs. If I wanted to work a school season in a hotel, I just took the yellow pages and I called all the hotels in the area until I got one who was willing to give me a job. Or the next year, I thought I will work in a field of agricultural culture to grow trees, and I just bike to all the the companies in the area and just ask if they have a job for me. So this was easy for me. I like to work, and sometimes I had 2 or 3 jobs together next to school.
And what age did you start?
The first job I was 10 years old. Start selling ice creams. Was my neighbor? He had a cafeteria, and it was busy during the summer season, and I was allowed to sell ice creams. I got €2.50 an hour, guilders an hour at that time. Yeah, it was funny, but I liked to be around people and earning some money. That was basically not the motivation. I think it was more the escape of not being home. And yeah, so I liked to spend a lot of hours on the job, and later when I become older, different jobs, different experiences, but more responsibilities. As a result of this, my school career was not so successful. When I was 15, my parents divorced, and my father left home, and my mother was quite sick at that moment. So I lived with my sister at that moment. She was almost married. So after a couple, I think 1 or 2 years, she left the house as well. So then I had, there was no control in my life. My father was not there, my mother was not there. So yeah, I lived a free life. So what will you do as a young boy? Not go to school apparently, because I didn't like it so much.
At what age was this?
16.
Wow.
16. I went to school, but only when I felt like I had to go.
This was high school, right?
Yeah, I was the HAVO in Dutch, and so I failed twice in the fourth grade, and then I had to go to another school and was not successful either. But I liked working, so I continued, keep on working until I was 19, 20, and then a father of a friend. He was one of my big inspirators in life. Jacques is his name. He said to me, Ed, maybe you have to do something with your life. I have a job for you in Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
So I went to Saudi Arabia, working in the industrial cleaning area. Very heavy job in extreme conditions. But I liked the work, so it was okay. But when I got back after a couple of months, I thought, no, this is not what I'm gonna do the rest of my life.
Were you not scared to go like all the way to the other side of the world to work, because you were still really young, right?
No, I trusted him. Yeah, I don't know why, but I'm sorry, but he passed away in 2015. But I never asked him why he sent me there. But I believed in his good intention. So it was a heavy job. I think maybe he sent me on a learning journey. This is what I believe, and I learned a lot of it. I learned that I could do the job, but I didn't like the job. So I had to do something better for myself. And then I booked myself a private education for 1 year. I studied marketing. It was a full year of studying. I could not work as I used to. So I locked myself up and I did the both exams. I passed in both of them. So I was happy with that. So it was kind of justifying the time I lost a little bit.
Okay. Was it a difficult choice to go back to a learning environment like school where you're not directly making money or
Yes and no. I knew where I did it for. Um, I knew the reason why I did it, and at the same time, so the sacrifices are then a less problem. But yes, I had to. Yeah, I had less money than before, and I knew I had to do something. Otherwise, I could have gone back to Saudi Arabia again. And then, so the moment I knew that I wanted freedom in money. I didn't look necessarily for a lot of money. I think the result of money was more interesting for me than the money itself.
yeah.
Freedom, money comes with a lot of time with freedom. So freedom of making choices, not to worry a lot, and this is what I learned already on a young age. That money gives you freedom if you want to buy something, or you want to go somewhere, or you want to learn something. um, it helps. It helps.
Just to talk about money briefly, a lot of people say that money can't buy happiness. I believe that money takes away a lot of stress, especially in the beginning stages, like when you have just enough to survive. That comes with a lot of stress, which directly impacts the way you live. So I think in the beginning stages, it can remove a lot of that, and that can be connected to being happy. And then after a certain point, I think studies were made that after a certain amount of money per year, your happiness doesn't go up anymore. What is the way you look at that, if I may ask?
I think money is a resource, and all resources can give stress, and all resources, when you don't have them, can also give stress. So I recognize what you say. If you have more money than X, it doesn't make your life more easy, or more. It doesn't make you more happy. I see a lot of people who I think have lots of money, and they don't look very happy. So I don't see that the purpose of having more and more and more is not my drive.
Yeah.
We're
We're talking about so you came back from Saudi Arabia,
yeah,
and
did study,
you did the study.
and then there was. I first had a job. We bought and we sold a lot of branded clothes. At that time, there was in Europe still a long time ago for the young followers, but they had different currencies in per country. So my boss sold or bought at the time in Spain shoes, and we sold it in Greece or in Germany or whatever. So it was a great experience in selling big quantities of branded clothes, and buying and selling to several multinationals, basically. So I learned to sell there. He was really good in selling this guy, so I learned a lot of him. Crazy guy, but he was really tough. He didn't allow any margin for mistakes, although he made himself a lot of mistakes, so that was really funny. And the guy was really explosive, so if something happened he didn't like, he was so explosive. And I could deal with it, but a lot of colleagues couldn't. And it was, the turnover was immense at this company. But I liked it. I liked the atmosphere. So I learned a lot. 2.5 years I worked there, and then there was another guy, Peter de Gans is his name, and he was my second inspirator in life. And I knew him from the social life. I knew him from parties where I went to with sports. And then he asked me "Are you interested in a recruitment company job?" I said, "No, I'm not interested." And but for whatever reason, he believed in me, and So he invited me for an interview, and still I was really reluctant about it, if I had to go, if I liked it or not. But I thought, what's there to lose? And he hired me, and I still was not convinced. Recruitment, IT, I didn't have any relationship with it. But after a while, I learned from him a lot, and he inspired me to get to make it more fun and successful. And after a few weeks, in the beginning of a job, it is never nice, because you don't know, you actually don't know nothing about this job. You have to ask for little things, and there is nothing you. There's nothing what goes automatically, actually. So after that first period, it became easier for me. Become my first successes I booked, and later on, that helped me a lot after this period of start.
What kind of success was that? Was it financial success, or did you reach
No,
targets?
I just booked. I hit my first placement.
Okay.
And it was also with a client where the company had never made placements before. It was the ABN AMRO Bank.
Okay.
So it was immediately one of the big names in Holland, and I made a placement. So I was really happy about that. Salary-wise, I didn't earn anything on top of it. I was on a basic salary. That was not the case. I just liked the success. I just like to be making placements, to make placements.
Were you recognized? Like, did it give you a sense of like importance in the company, or did the people there change their way they saw you because you did something that was never done before there, right?
Yeah, but at that time, I think it was what I liked. Looking back at this company, I think what I liked is that everybody welcomed new colleagues. That was nice. So I felt welcome as well. That helps.
Yeah.
If you feel that you have to fight for your place, then it's different. But at this point, everybody welcomed me, and at the same time, everybody was competing with each other, but not on a negative way.
Okay.
We had to, it's like when you go both to a client, you both wanted to become successful. If one lost, you would be sad for him, but still you would be happy for yourself if you won or if you made the placement. So it was really competitive, but not in a nasty way. Just to bring each other to a higher level. This is what Peter, I think, created really good in this company. It was a good atmosphere between the colleagues in a positive way.
Really nice. And is that something that we'll get into your team a bit later, but do you think that is important for a company to create that sort of atmosphere? Because we talk a lot about company culture nowadays. It's very trendy, and people know very well how to give like form to a company, but you don't really often hear it from people that actually run a business, that are in the field.
Yeah, I think there are several cultures who can become successful. But for me, I need a welcome, and also to coach people in a welcome environment. I think, but there are more other environments and cultures where you can become successful, but they are not always suitable for everybody.
Yeah.
And also other environments where it's very, very competitive between the colleagues, but still they are successful. So I don't think there is one formula for creating
because sales is known to be very competitive, right? Like in general, you always hear these, or you see even movies where you see people calling and they're all doing their best, and it's almost like like it's me, like I'm gonna make the sale and I'm gonna be better than you, and they actually write the numbers on the board, and I think it gives like a certain pressure to other people.
Yeah, true.
And some people can thrive under that, and some people collapse, right, under that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all know the movie about Wolf of Wall Street, etc. But still, it was a successful formula at that time with these people.
Yeah.
So if your internal drivers connect to those drivers, then it's a good one. I think it wouldn't still work good for me in these environments. But I'm not saying it's wrong or it's just not suited for some people.
Yeah.
Like my company is also not suited for everybody.
Is it possible to make a company where everyone is welcome, or is that too much of a utopia?
I think it's too much of an utopia.
Okay.
Good question. I don't think it. I think you will have groups.
Yeah.
You see now as well. There are always groups in groups. So and that's for a reason, because they like this way a little bit better than that way. I don't think there's one trick will do for everybody the same result.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. I think the same way.
Yeah.
And then after that, what came after that company? Because there was one story you told me once that I remembered, and it was super interesting. It was there was someone you knew, and they invited you to a job interview, but it was really far. It was in a place that was impossible to find.
That was Peter.
Yeah. Was that for this job?
Yeah, for this job.
Could you please explain that story again? Because I thought that was very interesting, if you don't mind telling it.
Peter was good in testing people, and he wanted to test my motivation. And at that time, I didn't have a car, or I didn't have a transportation easily. And he chose a location for the interview, for the job interview, which was not very easy to access. With public transport, it was not doable, so I had to choose the bike or walk. And I think it was 45 minutes by bike, and it was raining a lot that period. I think it was in December, somewhere like that.
Okay.
So he tested my motivation. How bad do you want to come to the job interview, or will you cancel it, or will you ask me to pick you up, or whatever? So, but I went anyway. I can't remember. I think I went with biking, but so I came there, and he said immediately, okay, was the first test. It was really funny. I didn't realize it was a test, but yeah, he chose to see me how bad I wanted to come there.
And he told you it was a test?
Yeah, he told me.
And he said it's the first test, so there were more to come.
Yeah, yeah, the job interview itself. He was a really funny guy. He was a very warm guy, but at the same time, he could really give you the feedback you needed. For me, it worked perfectly. Every Friday, he called me or he came to my office. I had an office in Rotterdam, and he came, and he was there most of the time, 12, 1 o'clock, and then he said, Ed, what did you do this week? And I said, I was very proud, I was proud to tell him, yeah, I did this and I did that, this I accomplished and that I accomplished. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why didn't you do it like this? And every Friday I was getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. During the conversations, I thought, why didn't I see this opportunity? Oh, why did I do this? And then he built me up again. At the end of the Friday, at the end of the afternoon, he built me up, and he taught me how to do it next time in a different way, or better, or different results. So he gave me a lot of insights of how he should do it in this position. And yeah, apparently this was my way of learning. He was tough. It was not easy. But he was also fair. If I did something right, then he praised me as well. But this was his way of motivating me and inspiring me, and this worked perfectly for me.
So if I understand correctly, there was like a constant feedback loop where every Friday you would hear what you did wrong, what you did well.
Mm-hmm.
And was that for you insightful, or like was it very confronting? Because I think some people can also...
Both.
Yeah.
Both. It was very confrontating. No escape. But at the same time, yeah, this is the way I think you learn. If you see it like it really is, then you can do something with it. If somebody gives you feedback like, kind of
Yeah.
not want to hurt your feelings, then we are wasting both our times, I think.
Turning around the points.
Yeah, I think if somebody's really sincere with you, he should give you sincere feedback. Sometimes it hurts.
Makes a lot of sense. And that's also the way that I like to learn. I think in the beginning it's always a bit confrontational, even with this podcast, for example. We had an episode where things didn't go as planned. I didn't sleep well. We had to drive 4 hours to the location, and we arrived there, and I was not there with my mind. And then my producer told me, "Look, this was trash. Like we should have done it this way, this way, this way." And the first 10 minutes when I read it, I was like, I felt so bad. And then like after that, we just picked it up again. We looked at how we can fix it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he gave me the bad, like just like he told you, or like what went bad, and then how can we fix it as well. And I think that's super powerful to work that way. And
Yeah.
I think it's also the best way to grow in both life but also business.
I think it's all about the intention.
Yeah.
If the intention of the feedback is to make you better, then it's always good. If the intention is to give you a bad feeling, and then the feedback is also not sincere.
Yeah.
So I think the intention is a lot. I think a lot of conversations, you have to go back to the intention. What is the intention of why you're doing this? And then you can say if it helps or not.
But it is not always easy to find out the intention of someone, right? Or do you think you can always feel that?
No, you don't. I cannot see your intention. But I think it. Yeah, when you grow older, it doesn't matter so much what the intention of the other person is. It helps.
Yeah.
But so you have to take in what's good for you. Maybe for other people, should not of had not been working like this, but for me it was good.
And what were the next steps that you took in your career? Because now I think, especially those years or the time that you worked there, you developed yourself a lot because you had this constant feedback loop. You had someone that was really experienced. What were the next steps in your career?
Then I got, after 6.5 years working for this company, I went to an English company, an English IT recruitment company. First, I thought I don't want to travel anymore because then the Netherlands become more busy on the roads. So I thought I will go to one office in Amsterdam. That would be nice. And after a year, I think I became again the manager of the Netherlands. And I think 2 years later, I was responsible for the whole of Europe.
That went really fast, or
Yeah, it was quickly.
Wow.
Quickly. I think it was a combination of a couple of circumstances. My employer at that time, I think he was occupied with jobs outside of the company more, and what I created in Netherlands, I think, was quite successful. So he liked to copy it to the rest of Europe. So yeah, but it was a big step for me as well to travel all over Europe, 7 or 8 countries, 11 offices in total, I think. It was a very good experience for me to learn to work with different cultures, different people, every culture has different motivators. Clients act differently than the Dutch clients. So it was, for me, a very interesting period. Yeah. So this manager was not a big motivator. In the contrary to Peter, this was the total opposite. He just left me, and when I did something wrong, he said very tough that I did it wrong, but he didn't give me a solution how I should do it differently. So you almost gave me only negative feedback.
Okay.
Never positive feedback. The guy was very, very complex. Very complex. And the biggest problem with him, for me, was the unpredictability. Where Peter was very predictable. He always was black and white, but he said it with a reason and explained why. And this guy was just, every time I went to the headquarters, I didn't know, do I get a praise, or do I get or will I get fired?
Wow.
These extremes was it. And do I get a raise or do I get fired? And I didn't know. It was really difficult feeling. Sometimes I felt that I had a split personality. Was it now me or was it him? I didn't know. So this was for me a difficult situation to deal with. My job, I loved my job. I really liked it. The people I liked, the team I liked. But to work with him was very, very difficult for me.
Did you have a lot of contact moments with him? Did you have to report a lot, or were you?
No.
Okay.
He just called me when he was angry.
Okay.
When he didn't like something, he called me. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? And then I explained, okay. And then he hung up and it was over.
But was there no like hidden appreciation for everything you've done? Because he did promote you, right, from Holland to Europe.
In a way, it is. In a way, it is.
Just his way of communicating.
I believe it also afterwards I learned more. It has nothing to do with me personally. He is this guy. After me, a couple of other people have followed this route. But again, I was very lucky that he gave me this opportunity. I'm grateful that he did it as well, because I had the chance to travel all over Europe and to learn from all these companies and offices. But for me, he was very difficult. And other people, they still work for him. So he does a lot of good things as well. But it's always about combinations.
Yeah.
So he probably didn't like something I did, or in the chemistry maybe. Chemistry is a little bit magical. You don't know. What's my share of it and what's his share? You cannot. You can never tell 100% what is the right mixture.
I'm just going to make a bridge with something that's completely different, but something that we have talked about together is frequency levels. Because I think we were in Ibiza together for a team trip, and just for the record, I work with your team. I help them out with the marketing. So we were in Ibiza, and I asked you, like, how does that work? Frequencies, because you told me different people are on different frequencies, right? And I looked it up, and it actually, like, there's science behind it, and that was like something completely new, eye-opening to me. Do you think that could maybe play the role in that he was on a different level, different frequency than you?
I don't know, Jonas. I don't know. I think that that's what I meant with the conversation with you. Is I think it's a little bit different conversation.
Okay.
But then you go into the soft and the spiritual side of it, and I don't know if you want to talk about it here, or
I'd love to if you're willing to because I know you have some knowledge about that, and it's something that's not spoken about a lot, and it's something that I'm really interested in. I think people that are getting into self-development, at some point they will see it as well. So
I think in general you resonate with people.
Yeah.
If you are, for instance, interested in combat sports, you will resonate easier with people who like it as well. So most of the times you resonate with people with the same interest or something you will share, but as soon as you meet somebody you don't know, but still you have immediately an instant connection with somebody, right? This is also in my job very interesting to see in selecting people for companies or selecting people for clients, or and instantly you see if there's a chemistry or not. And they have also reports about it, that you choose your application partner within 5 seconds. So a manager comes, picks you up, and he already made his decision even before one question asked. It's really strange, you know.
Yeah.
Why do we have all these conversations of 2 hours and assessments if this is right or wrong? But still, it is the case. You when you go to a party and you look in a room with full of people, you pick out one or two people. Why is this? Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. It's proven that it's the same vibrations. You're also connecting to those people easier. And sometimes it's bad. You can also relate that if a burglar is looking on the street, he looks for victims, easy victims. It's easier for him. And then he thinks he chooses them for maybe they're small or tiny or whatever. But I think it also has to do with energy, where he can grab some energy from somebody, and he doesn't bring it to his conscious mind, but unconsciously it works like this.
And this ties back to environment as well, right? We've talked about different things that are important to become successful. You mentioned environment in our conversations a lot. And I can imagine that if you're on a certain vibration, if we may call it like that, you're going to be attracted to people that are on the same vibration. And imagine you come from really far and you have financial problems and you have health problems and you're addicted to whatever, then the group of people that you will surround yourself with, automatically you'll be more attracted to people that are in the same situation, right? Or is that how it works?
You bring the most vulnerable people in it immediately, but I think in general the people you spend the most time with, you will become like these people. I think behavior is contagious. So the 5 people you spend the most time with, you will become like this. So if I always am around you and I see you eat healthy and you never go to the McDonald's, yeah, why should I go to the McDonald's? You know, because I learn from you how good healthy food is, and then after a while, I only eat the food you like. This is how it most of the time works. That a lot of the behavior is contagious. I believe in that. So the 5 people you spend time with, yeah, you will become. You will learn about their habits. You will learn about their knowledge, and you will become a little bit like them. So, if you want to step out of this group and you want to learn something else, then no, it's the other way around. If you want to do something else, if you and I like to play football and I like to do another sport and you're not interested, then I have to find another peer group where I can learn the other sport in. So I have to go to find a new peer group, new 5 people who I can learn how to play tennis from. And also with personal development, it works like this, I think. So the most difficult area, I think, in personal development is you have to find every time a new group where you can learn new things. Or you take the group with you if they are the same interest, if they have the same interest to learn some new stuff as well. And that's the most difficult thing, I think. If you want to learn something new, you have to find a whole new group.
Was this something that you were conscious of when you were raising the ranks of, like, for example, working as an entrepreneur? Because you, like, at some point you said, no, I'm going to work for myself. When you're in a company culture where you're working for someone, and though you're working pretty on an individual basis, but you're still within a company, and then you make a big step to become an entrepreneur. Did you then, like, seek other entrepreneurs around you, or did that establish itself?
Now, to be honest, I never had the dream of to start for myself.
Okay.
Looking back now, I think the reason why I never started or never had this dream is based around fear, I think. Lack of giving up your security. I had a good job. I was in a good position. That's always difficult to give up. So I never had the dream of starting for myself because of this reason. I think I like also security in my life, predictability, where I just talked about. I like it a little bit. But there was a friend of mine, Marco, and he suggested to me, Ed, I will help you to start up your own company. And not that he did a lot of practical things, just the reason and the feeling that he was behind me was already enough. And Marco and myself founded your team. He was more on the background, but for me it was really good to have a guy who trusted me again in my corner. So this was good. Sorry, I forgot about your question.
What I asked is when you started your own company, was that also because of your environment? And you're answering that with actually it was because there was someone in your close circle, if I understand correctly, that told you we can do this together, or I can help you building the business.
Yeah.
So that was what I didn't even notice.
Yeah, but he actually was the last one because he was not an entrepreneur himself.
Okay.
He actually was the last person because he was one of the guys who was not an entrepreneur in my life.
Okay.
But he was a very successful businessman, and he was CEO of a big company, and he trusted me, and he helped me to found my company, and we did, and that was very good as well for me because I need some safety to do big steps. This is my way of making entrepreneurial successful, I think. I guess if he was not there, I would not have dared it, to be honest. So for me, safety and security is kind of necessary to make also risky decisions.
And looking back at this whole process, so we did like a little chronological approach of your life, which is, by the way, really interesting and really inspiring as well, because you went from someone that didn't want to start a business to starting a very successful business, and you explained all the people that played a role in that, which I think is very insightful, because you can see that at every moment, even when things were bad or not bad, but when they were hard, like for example getting bad feedback, those were learning moments. And even your very difficult childhood, if I may say, was also, it taught you a lot, I think, and it has helped you to shape in which you have become now, which is really inspiring. So I think this little trip through your timeline is super interesting, and I'm sure there are many more things that you left out, but thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And looking back at this this journey, if I may say, what would be advice that you would give your younger self? Imagine your 21-year-old self. I'm 21 myself. Something that maybe would have prevented things going wrong, or
everybody has to make. I believe that everybody has to make their own mistakes, experiences, but keep on going. This, I think, is the most important things. I don't believe that you have to focus on money when you're young. I think you have to first become good in something, and then the money will come. I think that to create people around you who can help you, guide you. Helping is a little bit difficult word, because sometimes if you use the word help, then you think somebody will do it for me.
yeah.
For me, help is more like a guide, being a supporter, help you when you are down, help you up. But the person should not do it for you, otherwise you will not learn of it.
Yeah, there's a very famous quote. It's better to teach someone how to fish than to give them a meal for evening. I think that's what you're referring to in a way.
Yeah. And it's painful, because I had to make a lot of mistakes to get where I am. I did a lot of mistakes as well, and I can tell you all about it. But this not. I think that's not very interesting to hear. But from each step and mistake, you have to go back to yourself. How could I make change of this? Where did I make the wrong intention, or where did I make the wrong decision, or what did I oversee, in order to learn for it for the next time. It's just like a muscle.
Yeah.
You have to grow it, and it only grows by experience. By so many reps, your muscle will grow. I think you need only 1 or 2 reps. Yeah, your muscle will not be strong. It will become stronger over time. This is, I think, the same. So I would learn myself. I think the best advice would be have trust in everything you do, that you will become stronger.
I think this relates back to patience, right? I think we've talked about
Patience.
that a lot. That you should trust the process. In a way, it's a very famous quote, but it is actually the truth, right? Like all the ups and downs are part of the journey.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. You know, I spoke to a friend, and she said to me, "Ed, a plant doesn't grow faster when you pull on it. You have to water it, you have to give it love and attention, and then it will grow. So if you pull on a plant or a flower, it doesn't grow quicker." So I remember that as well. I think and we need in this industry or this time of age, we want everything instantly, and we want now. We want food now, so we call somebody and they bring food, or we want. Also, what I see in the companies nowadays is we want promotion instantly. We want to start as a CEO or a business owner. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't go like that quickly. So the instant society is very difficult, I think, for young people to grow.
It's dangerous also, right? Because what goes up really fast can also fall down really fast, and that downfall can hurt, right?
I don't know if it's dangerous, but I think it's not sustainable. I think a lot of the highs, because what can you learn
Yeah.
in 1 year or 2 years? And I think when I was your age, I thought the same. Yeah, what is this old man saying? I will do it my own way. So most of the youngsters will do the same, and I totally agree with it. But now I know that it takes time.
Yeah.
I realize that it takes time sometimes to learn, to really learn. Sometimes you think, but now I know it. No, you know the basics. But that in depth, it's just training and training and repetition. Repetition is the master of every skill, they say, but it is.
I think what's really interesting what you're saying is I can recognize a lot, especially in this like social media day and age. Like things can go super fast. You see people that get like instantaneously famous on Twitch or on TikTok or on Instagram, and like, but what have they really learned? Like obviously they know maybe how to manage a social media account,
Yeah.
but if you get to like the real world, if I may say, like there are different rules. And like I think being in the field, I'm really young, so I'm not speaking out of experience, but this is just the way I think. Is like the field experience is super important, and doing hard things also, right? Like the importance of hardships. In your story, you haven't mentioned it specifically, but you could see in every stage of your life something was hard, and from those moments, I think you took away a lot, right?
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think we don't learn a lot from being on. Positive things in life is also good, but it's not the best driver or the best motivator. When you are already, when you are born in a very rich, and not I don't mean money rich, but also attention rich or loving, caring environment. Yeah, you don't need to find richness again because you have it already. But when you don't have it, when you miss something in life, it can sometimes be a bigger motivator to achieve it. So you see, sometimes the people are coming from a bad experience they turn it around, and they get extra motivation out of it. So I think sometimes it helps
Yeah.
that you are in a down situation, and this is why I like also you don't have to. Not everybody has to be bullied in his life to become successful, of course, or harassed or whatever. But I'm saying you can also create it artificially with sports. Sports is also a good metaphor to create emotional hardness, because this is what you need to overcome difficulties in life. And with sports, you create your own difficulties every time, every day, when you go out and you do your own goals in running or whatever sport you choose. I think it is important to create your own endurance. It's also training your mindset.
Yeah.
If you put yourself in difficult situations in sports, I'm 100% sure that you will get your benefits in the business as well. If in sports it's very difficult to endure the pain of failing or missing or losing, or you want to achieve some goals in a running match, and you have to train for it. You have to spend time in it. You have to set your goals. I think it's also a good metaphor for that.
Because now we can get into something really interesting, is your kickboxing, if I may say, career. Because it's not a career,
No
but
career.
okay, sorry, but you did kickboxing and you did it for a long time, right? You even done a few fights, right? So, were you looking for those hardships intentionally, or was it just something that would get your mind like off of work? Because I heard a lot of people that have that as well. They just want like a escape from outside world.
Yeah, to be honest, I started when I was 15 with karate.
Okay.
Karate I started, and it was not. It was not a positive start for me. The reason why I started karate, to be honest, I think I never told somebody, but there was a guy, the boyfriend of my sister.
Yeah.
Was a big guy at the time. I was 15. He was 22 or 3. And of course, he loved my sister, and I had an argument with my sister, and he stepped in, and he wanted to do something with me. I don't know if he wanted to hit me or not, but nothing. But I felt a little bit threatened with him. He never got physical, but I felt threatened. And then I made a decision in my life. I will not allow that anymore. So I have to do something with it, because I didn't know anything about fighting or protecting myself or whatever. So, and then I found a friend of school, and he went to karate, so I joined him. So the motivation again was pain, to get protected against it. So I went to karate for a couple of years, and then later on I started with kickboxing. And kickboxing, I liked more the atmosphere, because this school where I went to was really friendly and nice, and it was good for my self-esteem, and the teacher was a friend of me. I trained with him, I think, for 10, 12 years. And this was really more the social environment was interesting for me. And later on, I got the interest in fighting for real. So initially it started because of protecting myself. And later on it was kind of social and physical training. And I like to push myself every time more and more.
It's very interesting, because that's a pretty broad spectrum of interests that you had within the sports. There was the social, there was defending yourselves, but also confidence. You mentioned confidence.
Yeah.
Something I experienced myself also when I started Taekwondo. I was super I was only 7, so I was really small, was one of the smaller kids. And when I started Taekwondo, after 1 year, I felt like, the man. I wasn't, obviously, but it did something in my brain. I don't know if it's like chemical or whatever.
Yeah.
But martial arts is crazy. I think any sports, especially fight sports, it teaches you so much on so many different levels that even I think in a conversation it's hard to explain. But I think people that are watching that have done any kind of like fight sport will know what we're talking about.
Yeah, but I liked also, and that's what I realize now. The first karate period, I think I did it for 2 years, 3 years. I was training in Gouda. I lived in Reewijk at the time, and I trained in Gouda. And I trained with a 7 times world champion, Guusje van Maurik. She was 7 times world champion.
Well,
And yeah, I think the second time or third time I was training, she became 6 or 7 times world champion. And the Monday after the fight, she was there as well in the training. And she was so humble and nice to everybody, although she could kick me any places in the room, and I could never have done something back to her. But she made also clear that I could kick and punch her on the places where she left a gap for me. You know, so she gave me a way of learning and get also experience in it, and she was really respectful. And this part of the karate I really enjoyed a lot. And there were also other people who were who had a different intention with you, but she was really grateful, very graceful with it, and so I learned a lot about this attitude as well.
yeah, yeah, and you continued doing karate for a couple of years, and then you moved on to kickboxing. How
Yeah.
was that transition?
Yeah, because I liked with the style I did with karate. It was wado. You could not really punch hard.
Yeah.
You can only basically touch somebody, and then you had to because when it's too hard, then you were disqualified. But I liked to feel also the impact of the punches and the kicks. So I started to do kickboxing after that. So you could really feel the impact of it. So this was more the relation to it.
Okay.
And to be honest, I was not really good at the katas and to do the theoretical style for
Yeah.
me. I like to compete the real thing.
And you were doing this simultaneously whilst you were working?
Yeah, I was just a hobby. So
Yeah.
one or twice
Okay.
a day at the week. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And what are some other habits that you had in your life? Obviously, I know you a little bit, so I know that you go into the water, for example, a few mornings a week. You go for a swim, and even when you were in Ibiza, I saw that you were training every single morning that you were there. You were doing lunges, push-ups. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was those two things, right?
Yeah, but yeah. Yeah, I think I like to vary with the habits, but I think you are your habits, you are your rituals. And Anthony Robbins, one of my inspirators, I love to listen to him as well. He says you are your rituals. You know, if you start the morning with your day rhythm, start with a good rhythm. Then you know, if you start immediately on your phone, this is your habit and your rhythm. Then, so I love to do. I run a lot in my life. I did some marathons. I did some
Full marathons?
full marathons. Yes.
Wow.
It's also kind of meditative style. You after an hour or 2 hours of running, you get into meditative style. This is what I liked as well, to challenge yourself. I don't have a body. It's good for long distances. I weigh 100 kilos now, so it's basically too heavy. But I liked the challenge to do it. And I also was doing it with some friends, so I like the social side there as well. But coming back to your question, I think it is what I learned about myself is that I was not the best theoretical learner. At school, I was not the best guy. I like now it's becoming better, but my body is more my entrance of experiences. So I need to exercise a lot. Then my body, how do you say this? Starts Now, some people have an entrance in their mind, and they have to understand it by the mental side, and I have to understand it physically. And when I move my body, then processes will start.
Okay.
So the thinking doesn't start with sitting down for me. It starts when my body is moving.
Okay.
So that's why I like to do body work. It's called like this, body work. So I like to be very active in sports, but like you said, I like to go take cold showers, or in the morning I love to go in the sea. I live close to the beach. Even in the winter it's cold, but it's good for your body. It wakes you up.
So besides the amazing effects it has on your immune system, it also helps you think. Like, do you get ideas like while you're doing that, or is it just it turns you on?
Now it gets me in my body.
Okay.
And sometimes I'm away with my mind. My mind takes me away.
Yeah.
And then you go to fantasies, or you go to dreams, or you. I can also be with you in conversation, but at the same time, sometimes be there.
Yeah.
And it brings me really here. So it's kind of a meditative side of being active with my body. After 1 hour kickboxing, I'm really there. And
You're dialed in.
yeah.
And you talked about meditation. I think that's also super interesting. Do you also use traditional meditation, where you're just sitting down and you're just listening to a meditative tune or brainwaves, anything like that?
I should do this more often, but I do it every day before bed. I do it a couple of minutes, but I should do it a little bit longer actually.
And when you do that, what is the goal? Is it to think, because I think some meditations are like empty your mind completely. Some are like visualization. What is the one that you use and works best for you?
I think I don't have a goal.
Okay.
I just want to observe what's there, and
Yeah.
I don't have a goal. Because if it's a goal, then again your ego takes over.
Yeah.
So I don't have a goal. I just try to observe what's there, and no, I don't. For the rest, I don't have no music on, or
Okay.
I do it in silence.
It's interesting. So you talked about meditation. What I'm seeing is that you have a lot of habits that I've seen in other high achievers. Working out, meditating. You brought a book. I gave you another book. We talked about reading a lot. And you made the metaphor about watering a plant. So what I'm seeing is that you're watering that plant a lot. You're giving a lot of attention to yourself and your self-development, especially when it comes to your body, because that's what I've seen with being the few days that I was around you. Do you think that is one of the key elements that help you become so successful? Because when you're doing that, you're not directly working on your business. You're working on yourself.
Yeah.
Do you think that like your business is a reflection of your habits as well? Or is that more detached from each other?
Now the difficulty I think in doing things right is there are so many little elements involved. When you look at a top sport guy, there are so many little elements which you need to click in the right way. Otherwise, it goes the wrong exit.
Yeah.
When you look, for instance, what I really like is turnen, the gymnastic sports.
Yeah.
Epke Zonderland. This guy knew 4 years or 8 years before exactly almost the time which he had to perform, peak perform. So he knew 4 years in time that you know that you are Saturday the 20th of June you have to peak. And then you know exactly what you have to do. That's amazing. So, but then you have to work to, if this is the end result, then you have to work to this situation. And I think with every top sporter, the food is important issue, the sleep is important. How is it in your brain at that moment? Your relationship, is the support enough? Do you feel secure enough? You don't have to worry about money. So there are a lot of elements which enable somebody to peak perform. All those elements, I think, if you can influence those elements, you should, in my opinion. And this is also when you read books about top sports guys who retired, or I read about one of the Formula One driver. He said, I know that we drink a lot of water, but it is a half a kilo extra. So maybe I will leave this bottle of water outside, because maybe it is the difference. So the difference between winning and losing can be very marginal. And if you can influence that I think is really smart to do. Of course, you don't have to live like a monk and to do everything what is necessary. But I think the areas where you think, this is acceptable and reasonable, I can influence on that, I will do it.
And in most cases you can, right? There are a lot of aspects that you can influence in your life. Could you maybe mention some of them? Because you mentioned food. What is the importance of that, for example?
Yeah, it's surprising to me that people take so easily, put so easily something in your mouth. If you drive a car, I always take the comparison between your car and your body. If you drive a car who uses gasoline, you will never put petrol in it. You know, and you know why? Because it immediately stops.
Yeah.
So there is a result, a very immediately result of your action, and the end result is that your car breaks down. But with food, it's more difficult to explain, because you can live on fast food your life, and some people have no problems at all. I think if the response was quicker, the people will change. And now people just put a lot in their body without knowing even what they put in. For me, healthy food is important. I like to like I said, I like to work out. I like to be active with my company, and you need energy for that. And food is for me, of course, also social, but it's also a way of getting energy. So if I can get good energy, then it helps me to run my day.
Yeah.
So, and then I don't have to worry later. Yeah, and of course I don't know, Eunice. Maybe it doesn't help me at all, because you have your genes as well, they say, and you cannot influence everything. So I don't have the belief that I can influence everything, but I can at least say that I did a lot for it.
Eating healthy won't cause damage anyway, so it's always good to just do it.
Yeah. So I think healthy eating diets is important, but also a healthy mindset. Sleep well, sleep enough. That's important. Enough exercise, and test yourself. When you constantly test yourself in the gym or whatever your sport is, go walking, or for some people it's taking the stairs. We just moved the office to the 6th floor, and I try to walk the stairs, I think 5 times a day. It just gives me some extra exercise. It doesn't cost me anything.
It's a small detail, but it says a lot to think about your personality as well, right? It's taking the hard path instead of the elevator, which is...
Yeah, why is hard? It's not hard.
Harder path.
Yeah, harder
right?
path. Yeah.
Okay, I should say it like that. It's the less difficult part.
Less easy.
Yeah, it's less easy. It's interesting. And just to get back to that, your office, we talked about your team briefly.
Yeah.
Could you say some more about what your team does, maybe in more detailed manner, because it's a company that maybe not a lot of people know, but you do a lot, and you work with very big companies. What happens within the your team office?
Okay. Your team is an IT recruitment company. We work in the industry where of course there is, everywhere is a shortage in staff at the moment. So we provide our clients with capacity in IT. So that can be from a temporary capacity question the clients have to a permanent question. So we help finding them the best IT professionals in the world, because we basically search all over Europe, but also all over the world. Sometimes we get the right expertise in Brazil or in Nigeria, and we select people by phone, by Teams. We have several conversations with the candidate, and then we propose them to our clients, and we do the same then with the candidates. And if there's a match, first technical match, of course, it must be first a fit on technical level, and then on the personal level, there must be a personal click. Otherwise, you don't want to work with this person. If that's okay, then the client will hire him through us. So we provide basically the capacity to the companies in Holland.
So besides only providing amazing people for companies, you also change the lives of those people. Imagine you bring someone all the way from Brazil to Holland, because do they also live here then? How does that work?
Yeah, it can be a life-changing moment for some of those people. Some come here for economical reasons, because in their country it's a little bit difficult to find a good job. And some people come because of the technical challenge they can get here.
Yeah.
And some people just like to work in Holland for a couple of years for the adventure. Most of the times they come alone, but we also find recruited some people who come with the whole family. So it's a life-changing moment.
If I may ask you, this is beautiful that you do this. What was your why when you started this company, and until today, has that why changed?
Yeah, good question. When I started, this morning, an applicant asked me as well. The question why I started, because I worked with my previous company, and they were talking about their core values. My previous boss, he created the core values by getting them from the accountancy company. He saw them. He thought they were quite interesting. He saw them on their website, so he said, "This is what we need for our company as well." So he just copied the core values of this company, and he hung them on the wall in our office. And then I thought, this is really strange. This is really strange. And one of the first core value was honesty. No,
It starts well.
But then I left the company, and I basically got fired by him. At this moment, I still don't know why, but he fired me. So I thought to myself, will I work for another company who have the same issues? Then I thought, no, I don't want it. But then I have to create it myself. And maybe I will make the same mistake as he did. So I said to myself, okay, if you think he did something wrong, then you have to do it yourself better. So I created my own core values first, and then I created your team. And I still look, when we hire new people, we always look at the core values, and we take them in consideration if this person has the same core values. Otherwise, it will not fit. To create a team, you have to create also some commonalities between. You have to find the commonalities between the person and the company. Otherwise, it will not fit. If one person likes individual successes, and we have our core value is team performance, it will be very difficult to work together.
Yeah.
So the reason why I started then was to create my own safe haven for also people who know what they're getting as soon as they get got on board with your team. And now it's a little bit changing, to be honest. I still want to coach more, but now I have more the why for me is now more to pass my knowledge to the next generation. Before I wanted to do more leading by example management, and now this is also why it's a quite challenging period for me. I don't want to do it myself anymore, leading by example, but I have to teach the people how and coach them how they could improve themselves. What Peter did to me, instead of picking up the phone and do it for them. So it's also a learning period for me too.
Interesting. And what is the biggest challenge in this transition?
Yeah, it's a big challenge for me. Is that I normally I'm quite action driven. So if there was a problem, I always said, okay, let's get the client on the phone or the candidate on the phone. Let's go together. But then I do it for them, and now I have to say no, I cannot do it. But what's the problem? And we go through it. But you have to do it, and that's difficult for me. It's quite difficult.
It's letting go a little bit of the.
It's letting go.
Yeah.
It's letting go. I already gone through quite of a big transformation over the last 1.5 year, I think. It's difficult to let it go, with all kinds of fears in my mind. What will happen if I don't do it myself? I'm also a kind of control freak, and control is based around fear. Why do you need control? Yeah, it's a lot of times because you think something will fall without the control. So I learn a lot about myself as well, because I learn now as I see why I do it. And then I realize, oh, there's a lot of fear in me of failing or losing or being not good enough. This is all based around this control issue. Now I'm more aware of it. I don't have it skilled yet, but I'm more aware of it. It starts with the awareness.
Maybe it's a bit of a long stretch, but we've had a conversation in the past about behavior and how to change behavior. And now, in a way, if I understand correctly, you have to change your behavior of intervening in a certain situation, right?
A lot, yeah.
You explained back then. You explained me in like a few steps how someone can change their behavior. If you don't mind, could you go through that again? Because for me, that was really interesting, and I think a lot of people can learn from that.
Yeah, it sounds so easier to change your behavior. Just say, okay, today we do it different. But if you have done something 10 years or 5 years, or maybe in my case 40 or 50 years, how to change this, it's very difficult. So in order to change, most of the times you need or a very big reward at the end of the day, or you need some pain to change it. And there must be a sense of urgency to change it. Otherwise, yeah, you will. It's easy, You've done it always like this. But if you want a different outcome, and you do it the same way, it's a little bit foolish. I strongly believe that first you need a sense of urgency, and it can be pain or pleasure. The pleasure is easier, you have a big reward, but the pain is most of the times more energizing. What we said in the whole of the beginning of the podcast, we talked about where somebody gets his drive from and his energy from, and it's most of the times about negative experiences. There are a lot of people who wants to quit smoking, but they cannot until they get a bad message of the doctor, and then they stop immediately. Then it's easy.
Yeah.
Because there is no escape anymore. And until that moment, people are just okay with it. The pain is not that bad. The reward is not that good, but that's also why people stay in jobs sometimes which they don't like. It's kind of not good, not bad, but it's okay-ish until there is a problem, and then they will go. And then they realize we stayed in the job too long. And for me now as well, I have to make myself aware that if I do this too long in this way, then it's not good for the company. So I have to change myself before it's too late. And this is what I realize after speaking to other people, some of my coaches. I talk regularly with people about your team to reflect on me, because as a business owner you can be also blind. You think everything, you know it, because the company is making profit, so you'll probably do everything right, which is not. I can always improve, so that's why I like to spar and with other people who feel me or who give me the right sincere feedback, which I talked to you about in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's necessary to grow, I think. Either you see it yourself or somebody tells you, and then you have to change. And the change works better if there's a lot of pain. Pain is maybe not the right word, but
A sense of urgency, you mentioned this.
sense of urgency,
Yeah.
And so either you get the big reward, or your doctor says you have a problem, and then it's too late. And then immediately there is a change.
Yeah. And for you, if I may ask, which one of the two was it? Was there a big moment of pain or sort of urgency, or was it that you see a bigger reward that you can now detach yourself from the business?
Both, I think. I see that there is a fear. If I don't do it correctly, then your team will lose money. Indirectly, me. No. Start over again. I think both. For me, it's, I think, important to realize that fear is a component of it. If I don't do well, then your team will maybe not be so successful. So indirectly, me neither. And secondly, I think I also have new elements in me that I want to do something else with my life. I'm also interested in maybe coaching other people in different ways. Maybe not only in a business, but maybe also in another way, to coach maybe or help maybe grow young entrepreneurs. And I need time for that. So I think it is, I can get a reward of it, and I have the motivation for my fear. So I think in both ways helps me to adjust.
Very interesting, very interesting. And you quickly mentioned your goals briefly to, for example, start coaching people. I think you'd be great at that, by the way. Just from the few conversations we've had, and me coming back to points that we've talked about because they were very insightful. Do you have any other future goals? Like what is in the planning for your team or Ed himself?
Now, I think for me to get really for the next phase in my life, I'm now 51, like I said. So I love to be involved with your team because I still like the game. I like to be because it's quite a complex job we have. It's a lot of psychology. There's a lot of sales involved, negotiating, influencing people, but also very being interested in people. And I think in general I'm interested in people. So to really listen to an applicant and to really listen to a client, you must be really interested. Otherwise you make a mismatch. So your team, I will be involved until the rest of my life, I think. But I also like to share the knowledge I have with young people. Maybe some people like myself with didn't have the safe, loving and caring environment which you should have. But it is at the same time to share knowledge, to share my maybe my network as well, and to see where possibilities are for people. I would love to do that, but I don't know in which form I will do it. But I think I will do it in the future. But in order uh, to think about the next form, I need to get some time from your team off.
Yeah.
I don't think I cannot. Some people can, but I cannot create it when I'm busy and occupied with one to create something else.
Maybe a bit of a weird question, but would you be okay with having a bit of less success with your company if you're less involved, but then you'll have more time to work on yourself?
That's a good question. You hit immediately the pain button. I don't know if I want to be. I don't. I don't want to be less successful with your team. That's difficult. But I understand this might be the consequence
Yeah.
for a short period, because if we hire some new manager on in the company, he will become successful too. Maybe different way than I am was, but it's okay. But yes, this is one of my fears, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wish you best of luck, and just from the time I spent with you, I think it will fall into place.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I'm sure too.
yeah, I'm sure it will work out. And Ed, just to end with the signature success show question, that's going to be, what does success mean to you?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think success means to me is that you do what you are good at and what you like to do. Um, if you are successful, maybe financial, or because it's also very funny to realize what is success. Um, there was one year I was really financial successful with your team. It was 2019, but that year I was feeling really tired. My relationship broke up. Um, I was really not feeling good. I lost a lot of weight. I was not very. I had a lot of sports injuries. So then you have financial success, but you will lose a lot of your other components which are important in life. So was it a really successful year? I don't know. Everybody thinks that is the most successful year, but it was not actually. So I rather do something where I will be happy in. And yes, money is important, but it's not the most important thing. So success for me is to do what you like and become really good at it. And as a result of it, you will get your reward in whatever form they know.
And this ties back to finding balance, right? Because I heard a quote from a friend of me, from mine, and he said, if you want a price, you have to pay a price. And perhaps in 2019, you paid too big of a price. You gained something, which was the financial success of your team, but it cost too much. Do you now try to like equalize a little bit, or how do you approach your business now?
I think so. Yeah, I push people still to educate themselves and to get them out. Growing pushes you out of your comfort zone. Comfort zone. So you have to push yourself, but some people like to push themselves every day, and some people like to push them once a week. I became, I think, a more balanced manager over the last 2-3 years. Not to push them so many times. You can only push people so many times and then they'll fall over. And I think I was in the past more extreme than I am now. It's more in balance now. I realized that not everybody can take so much. But it took me also many years to understand this.
Yeah. Seems like a beautiful lesson. I think that if you keep on working that way, you in every side of your life you will be successful, and I wish you that.
Thank you. You too. I think you're really young, and what you already achieved. I was not that far as what you are in this time of age.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I have a present for you because I know you wanted to give me a book as well. I have a present for you. It sounds like we scripted it, but it's actually not. This morning I thought, what book shall I give to Yunus? And it is Simon Sinek. This is the book. It's about. It starts with a why. So actually, we discussed it today a lot. But this is Simon Sinek. I read some books of him and I saw some movies of him on the YouTube. He's a very inspiring guy, and this is, I think, the book where it says is all. It starts with a why.
Thank you so much. It's ironic. I think at the beginning of the podcast, I told you yesterday I listened to a full podcast of him.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. Even some things that I mentioned in the podcast were things that he mentioned. I was like, oh, I should ask that as well. So
Interesting guy.
yeah, really funny and really coincident. And thank you so much for the book.
You're welcome.
I'm definitely gonna read it.
I hope you will enjoy.
Thank you so much, Ed.
Thank you for the podcast.
I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been.
Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it! You should be a monster, and then you should learn how to control it.
It all comes from